But the West community letting them off just by calling it Islamophobic. There is nothing called Islamophobic. Why we are not having here in UAE Christianophobic or Jewophobic? We don't have it here.
There have been genuine prejudices that people have had against Muslims over time, especially since 9/11, and people have faced real discrimination. But what all grifters and revolutionaries do is take a legitimate problem and use that for cover.
To cover themselves.
Yes.
So they can get away from punishment. This is not acceptable.
I think Islam hates us.
They have done nothing except wreak havoc and terror for our faith and our religion.
Professed values of the Western countries, democracy and constitutional and human rights, at least they should speak about this.
And it's like, I feel like religion just is making it worse. They say they believe in God, but I think they're just anxious.
Before we talk about politics, let's look at the fundamental things.
That when we stand up to those who oppress our communities, that Allah accepts from us that as a form of jihad.
And it requires people with guts to follow God in an era that everyone does whatever is right in their eyes.
Will you distance yourself from those who think differently? Or will you join us at the table and talk about what is really important? This is the Al-Ma'idah Initiative, conversation without compromise.
Welcome back to the Al-Ma'idah Initiative podcast. Today I am joined by Mariam Almazrouie, and she is from the United Arab Emirates. Is there anything else you'd like to say about yourself?
So first of all, thank you for having me. So my name is Mariam Almazrouie. I am a medical science student. I study medical, and I've been interested more in human rights and about the political issues that world have been facing, and that's all.
I've been to the UAE a couple of times, and I haven't really had any long conversations with Emiratis before. I had one friend here who I got coffee with who was from Al Ain, but I didn't talk to him that much. We mostly just talked about coffee because that was his thing. So I'm actually curious, for you, growing up in the UAE, have you noticed a lot of changes, or has it been a pretty constant experience?
For me, I have noticed a lot of changes actually. We have been growing and we have been developed. And as you can see now, from UAE's just 53 years, and you can see how it's, mashallah, been changed. And our law it's changed, so everyone can live here peacefully. We have accepted a lot of religion. We have Jewish living here actually, and we have Christians, Hindus, and also a lot of people come here to invest because, Dubai is Dubai.
Yeah, I've actually, even in my lifetime, I went to Dubai last in 2022, which was right after the Abraham Accords. And there were Israelis everywhere when I was there, which was really interesting. I know a lot of people give the UAE a bad time about that.
They do, but here we live in peace. We are not against any religion. We respect any religion, either if it's anywhere. Even in my college, I have a lot of friends that actually from Israel, and they are studying here, internship, and they feel safe here. And that's what I'm feeling proud of, that my country is making itself a global place for everyone to come. They can come, they can study, they can invest, they can do whatever they want. And they can feel safe as well.
And I can attest to this because the last time I went to the United Arab Emirates, it was actually to help Afghan Christian refugees. So they had fled the Taliban and they couldn't live in Afghanistan anymore. And they were treated completely fairly and kindly by the Emirati government. They weren't discriminated against based on their religious beliefs. And basically, the UAE government gave each Afghan like $1,500 cash as they're leaving the United Arab Emirates to the US. So they had a generally good experience in the UAE.
Of course they will, because this is UAE. We love, we are respectful, and when anyone needs help, we are here to help. As you can see, we have done a lot of help to every country, like Syria, Palestine, Ukraine, Lebanon, and a lot of areas that need help. Actually, we like to stand by them so we can show them that we are here for you whenever you need us.
At what point in your life did you start paying attention to the wider world? Like, clearly you're engaged in like politics and news and everything going on in the world. Is that something that was just kind of innate in you, in your family culture from the beginning, or is that something that happened later?
That thing happened when I started my college. I started to learn about a lot of people and how back home, how they lived and how they suffered. Like I have Palestinian friends, I have as well Israeli friends, Lebanon, and when they come and we talk, I feel what they feel and I feel bad for them. That's when I start to dig deep into politics.
This whole conversation started because you are concerned about the way that the West is interacting with people like the Muslim Brotherhood.
No, I've always been concerned about Muslim Brotherhood and ISIS and Hamas and a lot of places. I don't know why they accept them. Like our country, UAE, we ban them to come to us. We ban their activities here. But in the West, they live freely. They can commit a crime without punishments. They can get money to send to ISIS groups and Muslim Brotherhood, and they have like really extremist ideas that may affect their countries. So as a UAE, the safest country in the world, ban them. Why do the West accept them? And why do they not do background check on the person who is going to get the citizenship?
I think I've figured out some of why this happens in the West.
For the votes, of course.
I mean, I think that's part of it, but I think a lot of this is a lot more mundane. So I run an organization here in Seattle in America where we facilitate friendship and worldview conversations between Christians and Muslims. So I've been studying the Muslim world for about 12 years now.
That's great.
And it's something I'm very interested in. But I think what happens in the West is the West, like the United Arab Emirates, values the meeting and communication of different cultures. That's something that is a shared virtue, I would say, between our two cultures there. But in the West, that used to be based on a Christian worldview ideal. And the idea is, in the Bible, we're taught to love our neighbors, to welcome strangers, and we believe God is doing things in all cultures across the world, and that's to be celebrated. And we have things to learn from everybody. But you have a clear standard of what is right, what is wrong, and what is acceptable and what is unacceptable.
Of course. Like what happened in the West, the case of the rape, what I saw, I felt so sorry. Because here in UAE, if someone rape a girl underage, he will get punished immediately. But there in the West, they are using something called Islamophobic. What's Islamophobic? There is nothing called Islamophobic. So they are using card Islamophobic to get away from the consequences. And they did get away from it. But crime is a crime. Whoever committed a crime must get the punishment. but the West community letting them off just by calling it Islamophobic. There is nothing called Islamophobic. Why we are not having here in UAE Christianophobic or Jewophobic? We don't have it here. Or they can use it in West, but there is nothing called Islamophobic actually. So they are using this card to get away from the punishment. And I am totally shocked how the government is letting them go away from the punishment.
The problem in England especially, and to some extent America as well, although I'm from England, I now live in America, it's worse there than it is here, is this political correctness mindset that people are constantly afraid of saying the wrong thing or being perceived as prejudice or racist. And what that means is people are not asking difficult questions. And the other problem with people in England is they don't know what they believe. So if you believe in Christianity and you believe that learning from other cultures is good, those things go together very well.
Yes.
If you believe in nothing and you believe learning from other cultures is good, then you have no standard by which to judge good and bad by, and you don't really have the tools to be able to say, okay, this is a good thing that is welcome from your culture, and this is a bad thing that is not welcome from your culture.
Of course.
So in Seattle right now, we have recently imported about 50,000 Afghan refugees from Afghanistan. I like that we take refugees as a culture, but the problem is when you bring in that many people at once without vetting them properly, you import a lot of bad things with them as well.
Of course. I believe like accepting refugee is a good thing, but before doing that, you must do a proper background check to see if this person is actually like going to be helpful or going to like bring extremist idea with them to your country. You have to do a proper checkup before accepting anyone as a refugee or as a citizen.
So here's the problem in the West. In the United Arab Emirates, you know how to test people's ideology.
Yes.
In order to do that, you have to know enough about Islam to be able to discern between people who are going to be helpful and people who are going to be problematic. And that's what the West doesn't currently have the tools to do. One, because it's ignorant about how the Islamic world works. Two, because it's scared to appear racist or Islamophobic and therefore cannot properly vet people.
It's both actually going there. I think Islam is pretty clear, and in our book, which is Qur'an, you can see that we have a lot of things that's clear, that's saying we have rights as women, and rape is not, it's forbidden. And actually, you can learn a lot from it. Like you can, even nowadays we have ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT and take the information from it. But what they are doing there, they are like scared to be looked at racist. So they accept everything from that group, that's Pakistani Muslim group, the rapists. They see everything as Islamophobic, but that's not true. This is a crime that's been committed. This criminal must be punished. So other criminals or other people who think to do the same will not follow him because he's not getting punished. So khalas, rest of the people will commit the crime and will go on with it like, okay, I didn't do anything. He get out from it. I'll do as well.
So if you were to help design a background check for people from Muslim countries who are moving to the West, how would you go about figuring out who the West should take and who the West should not take?
They can build where in the government they can build this place that for Muslims, like they can check. The Muslims can take a proper check background on the people, and they can see that this person have extremist idea, or this person is peaceful and it need help. That's why he came. Like they can do something in the government. They can upgrade themselves. They can ask for help actually from everywhere. Everyone gonna help him.
One thing I appreciate about the UAE is going in, I think there's a clear understanding of what the deal is. You're not going to be publicly disruptive. So as a Christian, for example, going into the UAE, I know that if I publicly insulted Islam in the UAE, I'd probably get in trouble for that. If I stole something,
even if you did something wrong in your religion, which is Christianity, you can even get punished on this, because here we respect every religion. If you came here and you disrespect anyone or any religion or any country, you will get punished, because the UAE have strict laws that shows everyone our law. Like if you came here, you can come, you can have fun, you can do whatever you want, but respect is a must. And you have to follow our rules.
Yes. So for example, as a Christian, I don't feel like I could go and preach publicly in the mall, but I have a sense that I could talk to anybody about whatever I wanted to talk about, and I'd be generally left alone. Like, my understanding is churches in the UAE are basically free to teach whatever they're going to teach. One advantage that you have that we can't quite replicate, at least at scale, is so many of the people there are expats. So everyone's visa is kind of dependent on them being a law-abiding citizen, and if they mess with that, then the contract is up and they have to leave.
Yes, of course. Here in UAE, when you apply for a visa, you apply for your visa, they're gonna go and take a proper background check on you. Then they are going to accept you. Then you can come here and work as much as you want. But if you have some extremist idea or some bad behaviors or a lot of law breaking, of course, then there is a big problem there.
Whereas I think when people come to the West, there's not a clear standard that's explained to people. Nobody's explaining, okay, this is what it means to be able to live here. So for a lot of the Afghan refugees, what we've had to explain to some of them is, if your wife wants to stay in the house and never leave and cover up, that is absolutely fine. She is more than welcome to do that here. But if you're like forcing her to do that and beating her if she doesn't, that is a crime, and you could go to jail and be deported for that.
Even here we have it as a crime as well. We are here, we are protecting women's, we protect children's as well, even if like we have a family issues that father beating his children, school can report it as well, and then it will commit as a crime. So we have a strict laws about these things. Even if your daughter didn't go to school for several days, they will call the family and ask why did she didn't come. And then if you have, if she's have medical issue, you must have a report for it. Or then there is strict laws against it, because you cannot, we are here, we like everyone to be educated. We want everyone to be successful in their life and depend on themselves. So if you are not allowing your children to be dependent and go to school and learn, then you'll face some issues with the government, because this is not allowed here.
So I'm actually curious, when you're in school, are most of the other students Emiratis, or do you go to a sort of mixed school with people from all different countries?
No, I go to a school which is a government school as well. Everyone is from everywhere. Literally, everyone is from everywhere. I can see I have a lot of Egyptians friends, Iraqi friends. I have as well Syrians, and I've never had, to be honest, like an international which is from UK, USA, and these places. But we have teachers that's from UK and USA and French, actually. We are educated like from kindergarten to high school English, but with Arab subjects it's going to be in Arabic, like Islamic and GCC social, like that. It's also in Arabic, and as well as Arabic subject. It's going to be in Arabic. The rest of them, like physics, science, mathematics, biology, chemistry, it's all in English.
Here's a couple questions here.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, what do you think, because I believe cultures are there to learn from each other. What do you think are the biggest things the West can learn from the UAE, and what are the biggest things you think the UAE can learn from the West?
Okay, I think the West can learn from us how we rule, or how we have our strict laws, and no card can come by us, like Islamophobic as well. Like, I hope, like in my personal opinion, I hope they know that, okay, I know that you care about people that not feel safe in your country and do not feel racist or anything against them, but as well, you must know that your own people are getting attacked. Your own people are getting day by day scared. Like, I cannot imagine how the mothers or the children's or the fathers, as well as I saw on my Twitter, how do they act? Like, I have a woman, she told me that I cannot let my daughter going to the school alone anymore because of what we are facing there. But here in UAE, we send the children alone every day. They go by the bus, and the bus is protected with cameras, and they can go and study and get educated and come back home safely. I hope they have something like for the women and for the children, because they are not only raping her like by body, they are raping herself. They're taking her innocence from her. They're like, she was a thing and now she's a thing. Like, I really feel bad and sorry, because I cannot imagine this happening here. Like, it's a really heartbreaking thing that the West are facing. I hope they find a better solution fast, because votes, okay, and like races, it not going to change how your people are feeling in your country anymore.
The problem in the West is that we've been invaded by this idea that comes from ourselves, doesn't come from outside, but we comes with this idea that the reason somebody is committing a crime is because they were a victim of some kind. And people do not like the idea of punishing somebody for a crime. Everything goes in the idea of, okay, well, the reason someone is a criminal is because the system is bad, and because the system is bad, therefore they're acting this way. Therefore, it is not the fault of the individual, it's the fault of the system.
Yes, but even if, like, when you told me something, if like someone committed a crime, he may be a victim before, but if you didn't stop him from committing a crime, others will follow.
Right.
Others will follow because they see that this person who committed the crime is not getting punished. And I am as a Muslim lady, as an Emirati, I am telling you guys, this is a crime, and a crime is a crime, and nothing going to change. Either he is a Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Christian, crime is a crime. No religion is involved.
Fundamentally, what the West needs right now is a transformation of its worldview on these things, because we certainly have the resources to be able to prosecute crimes properly. And when that happens, crime goes down.
Yes. If the population there, or the gang that's there, if they saw that one of them is going to get strict, like he's going to get punished, the other will be scared to do it. So I think the issue started from the beginning when they let the person who committed the crime to go through it, and it's khalas, it's okay, you can go back home. But others going to follow, and they did follow him, and now they are all doing whatever they want, and they know that the law will dismiss their case. They will not take it seriously because they can use Islamophobic card easily. And I am, as a Muslim, I am very mad that people using Islam as a card that they can get away from a crime. When if they are here in UAE or in the GCC, they know if they committed this crime, they are going to get punished. Either if he is any religion, he's going to get punished. So Islamophobic isn't a thing. Islamophobic is something they created to get away from punishments. But I tell you, there is some racism. Like, okay, if you are telling me like I am a Muslim, if I go to the West and someone told me, why are you wearing hijab, and they removed my hijab, then yes, they are racist. But this case never happened. The thing that they are using this Islamophobic card is with the rape, the criminal thing that they are doing. They are using Islamophobic card.
I think what I've observed is there are people in the West who genuinely have a problem with Muslims.
Yeah,
and
I've really like, when I go on Twitter and I see the comments in my posts about how do they see Islam, I feel bad. I feel really bad. Like the people that that living there, they are showing Islam in a really bad way.
So I think what kind of happened in the West, and it's getting better. So for me, I was 11 years old when 9/11 happened. Mm-hmm. And I remember it very clearly. And I think probably for about 10 years, my understanding was there was Muslims like Osama bin Laden who took the religion seriously. And then there were nice Muslims who did not take the religion seriously.
There is... Wait, let me clarify something.
I know. Go ahead.
Let me clarify something for you. Islam is like any religion. It's like Christian, any religion. Islam is like a personal choice. Like, I'm a Muslim. I chose to cover my hair. I chose to wear abaya. And other Muslims can choose to never cover their hair. They can choose to not wear abaya. But they practice Islam. There is no such a thing like a good Muslim and a bad Muslim. All Muslim is in one line. But there is something we can say. There is the people that think they are Muslim, but they are actually from the Muslim Brotherhood, ISIS, this group, but they are not Muslim. These things just invented like in 1928 in Egypt, like Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah, I mean, there's bad ideas that go back further than that, though. But yes, sure. A lot of the modern movement comes from Sayyid Qutb and the Muslim Brotherhood, for sure. Mm-hmm. But if you go back to like the beginning of Islam, you have the Khawarij from the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. So you've always had groups like this you've always had some people who are trying to build something, and you have other people in this revolutionary mindset that want to tear everything down.
Yes.
And this revolutionary mindset exists in the Muslim world with people like the Muslim Brotherhood, and you have people that want to build things like the UAE and I'd say Saudi Arabia as well.
I'll tell you something. Muslim Brotherhood and ISIS and these kind of group, they are focusing to be like, they have a mindset that Muslim must like in the 17th century actually, they still stuck there. They want the old world. They don't want the advanced. They don't want what we are going through. They want women stay home. When her husband died, she got married again and just brings children and this. And no, here we have something different. Women have rights, and even this things is in the Qur'an. Women have rights. Woman can do whatever she wants. You know that if a woman have like if she work and she has her own salary, she doesn't have to provide for home. The man who got married to her, he have to provide her home, but he have to support her as well and never force her to provide at home. So Islam shows the woman's right, but there in these groups, they are not showing it. They are ruining it. Like they are burying it, you know? They are making women as slaves, actually.
Yeah, well, I think essentially what's happening here is you have the Quran, and then you have the Sunnah, which is vast, and then you have different scholars who are drawing different things out of it and leaning on different traditions. And there has always been a battle throughout history for the soul of the Muslim world.
Yes.
And I think people in the West do not understand that. And they flatten everything. And that's kind of the place I was in before I started reading the Quran myself. I read through Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim myself. Yes. But even then, what really opened my eyes to this was actually meeting different Muslims and talking to different people and understanding how people come to different conclusions about things. Yeah. And if you don't understand that, then you can't really make laws, or you can't really protect your citizens, and you can't really like discern who you can work with and who you cannot work with.
I know, but I'll tell you something. Even if, like the West, they can also have some strict laws against that, against a lot of issues, like against killing people. They have to give us a strict laws against rape, against stealing, against a lot of things. They have a strict law not only for Muslims, for every religion, so the country can move smoothly.
Right, and that used to be true. I think if you were in the West 15 years ago, you would feel that a lot more, especially in America. But in my 14 years of living here, there were certain things during 2020 that made things discernibly worse here. Like Seattle, like the West Coast where I live, is probably one of the worst places in the West for generally feeling unsafe on the streets at certain times. And it's starting to get better again now, but it was really, really bad for a couple of years.
I think government must stand up for itself. The government must stand up, so the people can come and visit and feel safe. Like if I want to go, I will not go that time. I'll suggest waiting till the government start acting. Then I'm going to think about going to the West. But right now, as a female, as a sister, I have a small sisters, I can't imagine going there and something bad happened to them. Well, I'm thinking staying home safe is better for me than going. So inshallah, one day when the government start acting and getting herself up, and we can go and visit there.
No, this is actually really embarrassing, because if you asked people in the West, every time somebody's considering going to the Middle East, a question I'll get asked regularly is it safe for me to travel as a woman alone in the Middle East? And the question is, depends where. But the fact that the people would perceive the UAE as a Gulf state, as maybe less now, but they'd ask that question. Whereas now, it's significantly more dangerous to be alone as a woman on the west coast of America than it would be in the UAE or Saudi Arabia currently. And that's embarrassing. Like, I love my city, but it's so embarrassing how bad we are at protecting people.
I really feel sorry. I really feel bad and sorry about what I have read when I tweeted 3 days ago. I have read a lot of heartbreaking stories. I have read about every mother who have daughters and who have sons. They are really like shocked, and they don't know what to do. Like, I have some mothers saying, I don't know how can I send my children to school? And this is the smallest thing, or to the garden, or to the playground, or even in the place like in front of the house. They cannot go because she's scared, because she knows that if something happened to her, she will feel guilty. So I feel really bad. Like, I really do feel really bad. I hope like the country start acting up and start working on itself to provide these women and these children who must be protected by the government. It's the normal human right. They must be protected by the government to start act up so they can feel safe again.
I think one thing that's important to talk about is that every single country and culture on earth has bad elements to it, and is going to have crime in one way, shape, or form. And like, there's definitely some shady stuff that happens in the UAE. The difference is that all happens, it's all hidden, right? It's all, people are afraid of the government there, so it keeps it underground. Whereas in the West right now, because the government is not acting decisively, this stuff is bubbling up to the surface. So criminals are ruining regular people's lives.
Let me tell you something. Every country has its own issues, but like for me, what I have learned and seen here, even if we had a lot of issues, or even if we have crime, the government will start acting fast. The police, the hospital, or anything, they will start acting like in a short time, and the case will be closed and the criminal will be punished as fast as we can, because we want others to feel safe here. We don't want one crime or one thing will ruin our reputation. We act. We want to solve. We are not sitting and Christianophobic. I'm using this card because it's really embarrassing that I can say Islamophobic or Christianophobic or Jewophobic. Like, there's no phobic in these issues. It's criminal.
So I think, again, what's happened in the West with, Islamophobia, let's call it that, is there have been genuine prejudices that people have had against Muslims over time, especially since 9/11, and people have faced real discrimination. But what all grifters and revolutionaries do is take a legitimate problem and use that for cover.
To cover themselves.
Yes.
So they can get away from punishment. This is not acceptable. You cannot do a crime and use the card of Islamophobic to cover yourself up. No, like I know you can tell me. I know there is some Muslims that have been like having a hard time living in West, and because of like a religion issue or of some racism or anything. But you can use that card, but you cannot use it to hide yourself from any crime you have committed.
We have to get better at not feeling guilty when people throw these words at us, because you have to understand revolutionaries will always use stuff like this. They take a legitimate cause and use that legitimate cause to infect their ideology into people who mean well. Mm-hmm. So we've done what the West can learn from the UAE. Are there any things that you think the West does well that the UAE can learn from?
Actually, I will not say we can learn from, but we have already learned from the West, like with the educational things and like involving English and a lot of languages into our culture. Like we have already been learning from the West, but I hope the West start acting and start learning. Because it's not a bad thing to admit that you have learned from other countries, but it's a bad thing when you're not learning and you're keeping your country down. So your people will not feel safe anymore.
Now, what are your hopes for the future of the UAE, right? What do you hope is next, for what comes next for your country?
I hope people come to the UAE to see how is the true Islam is here, and to see how we in UAE respect every religion in earth. Even if the one who doesn't have a religion, we accept him and we also welcome him to our country. And I hope people can come here and come learn in our university and learn in our culture, as much as I see already people do. But I hope in the future more of them come.
As a Westerner looking at the United Arab Emirates, like my honest opinion is you guys have done such a great job in building the country that you have right now. It really is an amazing place. The concern I have as a student of history is so much of it right now seems dependent on having wise and competent leadership. And there's this quote from Sheikh Rashid Al Maktoum. He says, "My grandfather rode a camel. My father rode a camel. I rode a Mercedes. My son rides a Land Rover. And my grandson is going to ride a Land Rover. But my great-grandson is going to have to ride a camel again." And somebody asked him, "Why is that?" His reply was, "Hard times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create difficult times. Many will not understand it, but you have to raise warriors, not parasites." Mm-hmm. So his concern is that all of the amazing stuff that they have achieved in their generation is going to be enjoyed for a couple generations. And then eventually somebody who is entitled will come along and kind of squander all that progress, which is what's starting to happen to us here. So how do you think the UAE can avoid that problem?
Let me tell you something. For me, as an Emirati, I love all of my leaders and I'm very thankful for them, of what they are doing for us and how they are providing us with a lot of things. In my opinion, I think that it will never happen, because I know how our leader is how he's teaching us, he will teach his children, and how he is implanting the love of UAE in our souls, he will do as well to his children. So I believe that UAE will stay strong and will be the greatest greatest country, inshallah.
Well, I think this is something that the UAE you've learned from the successes of the West, and now it's time to learn from our mistakes as well. That everything you have is a blessing from God it's a good thing, and you've got to make sure you keep utilizing those good things you have, and keep teaching the next generation and the next generation to appreciate it. Otherwise, you'll start to decline the same way the West has if you don't pass that on.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we already do teach our generation. Like I have, as I told you, a sister. She's a young, like she's 5 years old. Till today, the school teaching the children how us as Emiratis, our way, how we welcome people to our country or to our house, how we learn our culture in schools. Like we have it there. I think the other generation will do as well have it, because we love our culture. We teach it to our generation, and this thing will keep passing by every generation because we do love it.
Mariam, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, and thank you guys for listening to the Al Maida Initiative podcast. We'll be back next week.